ヤマトはどこに
Also, why is she naked in the fucking ending if she's wearing clothes now? Just always have her wearing clothes. There's no reason for it. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Stoneface Reactions. I'm Theta, and we're back with another episode of Space Battleship Yamato 2. We come back as we normally do with notes and a board, so go ahead and hit that board up first thing. Where we come back with only one change. I marked Nazca as dead. Obviously, that gets reported last episode. Otherwise, everyone with a name was already there, right? We had a whole episode with the base attack and whatnot, where we met Saito, so he's not new. None of his crew got named. It is what it is. So then, on to notes. Either I just noticed this last episode or I missed it previously. They say that Admiral Goland is guarding Tesserat's anterior, and Dessler is securing its posterior. What is the front and back of a planet? A planet is a spheroid facing the sky in all directions. If they had said one fleet was the interior of the system and the other was the outer edge, that would make sense. But they chose words meaning front and back. Makes no sense to me. They couldn't be doing a worse job of ingratiating me to Saito and his men. I get it, they are Rough Riders, supposed to be the kind of guys that you have a hard time getting along with, but want by your side when shit hits the fan. At this point, though, I'm more concerned that they'll actually hurt the ship and its crew. I think I mentioned Star Trek Voyager during the reaction. In the first season, the ship's marquee crew trying to take over the ship was a legit threat that could have been a real problem. Two sides that hated one another, and they made it work. Conversely, these two are two sides that are supposed to be together. For all Saito's men know, they are talking to the heroes that saved all of humanity, and are choosing to wreck parts of the ship and mess with the crew. So, normal radar is two globes that Yuki stares at. Dimensional radar is on the ceiling for everyone to crane their necks up at. Honestly, if Saito's guys want to help out by piloting, just print them up some craft to fight in. Obviously, don't give them the ones you can't reproduce, but might as well put them to work somehow. The only issue I see is if the hangar is already completely filled, you would need to find somewhere else to put the extra craft. Remember when they had all those remote drones that they used to collect pieces of the asteroid to make a shield around the Yamato with? Why do their depth charges just float out into space in the general direction of the subs? They've shown that they can control a swarm of similarly sized objects before. Seems like an explosive on one of those engines would have been more effective than setting something loose in the right direction to blow up on a proximity. So the subs are just more ships then. I get that they popped up on the dimensional radar and not really the main radar, but that doesn't mean anything sub-like. My idea of them going in and out of that dimension that we saw in Season 1 would have at least continued the idea. Submerge into another dimension, pop up to fire some missiles, submerge again. Could have been something. Instead, these things are just slightly cloaked to radar. Stealth ships is more like it. I'm not calling them subs because they're vaguely sub-shaped. Anything in space could be sub-shaped. While I appreciate that Kodai is reflecting on what he's done, I hope with the introspection of what happened to Gamulus, this really doesn't feel like the episode for it. Since the majority of it is more focused on Saito feeling unwanted and out of place, as well as the difficulties of having a secondary crew on board causing trouble, there just isn't enough time for a C-plot. Especially one of that depth, or something that should be that deep anyway. I appreciate the Doctor getting on them out of view of the crew, since these are the two leaders of both of the groups. The Doc's always been the flag bearer of Okida's wisdom, even if he himself is a joke. Rare moment for him to shine, and I appreciated it. And my final note, by the way, the oddity it must be if you were watching this without the movie, to have the end of every episode be some random naked girl. And of course, we come back with comments as well. Sorry, I just forgot if I called my own stuff notes or comments. As per the thing I keep telling lessons all the time, What we say are notes. What you guys say are comments. So we don't have a commentary about shows. We have notes about the shows. Anyway, Kellen Winslow, obviously from the last episode. I like how you talk about how they custom print ships. I get the point, but it's funny. I mean, they made it a plot point in that one episode with the magnetism thing. They did have an episode where they left the solar system after they dealt with Pluto. It was where they sent their last message to Earth. Macross had an episode where they dealt with Mars base, but it's not something they deal with here. You are right about ships from orbit just bombarding the planets without ever landing on them. There is no need for it unless there is something specific or special troops would need to get. Your point about the Yamato being able to repair things is dead on. I know they can. I would just like it if the writers had given a few lines talking about that and what they did. You know you brought up Ogita possibly being cured by the purifier device when Dessler attacked them at the end of Season 1. I never thought about that. He was alive then, but nothing was done, of course. Makes me wonder if it would have worked on him. I assume it was only for the planet, but they never say. Okay, here's your thing. I know that you at least responded to one comment that said something about Yuki's soul finding its way back to her body or something. My read on that was that the purifier purified her of radiation. Like, I mean, it doesn't explain how she's coming back to life, right? But presumably, if her soul flew back into her body, it would still be a radiation dead body, right? However, I guess also the fact that Kodai is wandering around the ship with her body in his arms. If she was so radioactive that it killed her, presumably Kodai would also then be dead, right? Because he's getting secondhand exposure to all that radiation. So it must have cured her body, unless you're taking the point of view that dead people are things and not people. Which, to be fair, if she had died of complete radiation, every cell in her body could have died. And at that point, she would be an inert object, and an inert object would be a thing. Anyway, I thought the purifier purified her. Clearly, there's some time there where she was dead for long enough that I would suspect something weird happened. Yes, all the super best friends still do stuff only separately. Matt McMuscles has his channel, and Wooly has Wooly Versus, and Pat streams stuff. Their animated stuff was funny. Most of that was actually done by people like Plague of Gripes. Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, I think Wooly is the only one I've seen outside of all that. I think I saw Pat on something before, and I was like, wait a second, that guy was familiar. And I had to go find out, and I think that's when I found out that Super Best Friends wasn't a thing anymore. Your point about the Comet Empire traveling around the Milky Way and Andromeda makes more sense than them going around the universe, so I'll go with that. They mentioned Sirius here, which is cool. Every time I hear that, I always think of the Alan Parsons Project album, Eye in the Sky. I don't know, nowadays I just think about that car thing. Dang it, I had hoped the analyzer would leave Yuki alone, but here she starts rubbing her butt, so much for that. Otherwise, I like the little scene where they show that maintaining discipline is an issue. It's an issue the Galactica had as well at times, though they don't exactly treat it too seriously here. It's nice that the Doctor actually cleared up the issue, though. Kodai is still as thick-headed as ever, and Yuki being the only woman on board still annoyed me. I don't always need women in what are essentially boys' shows, but they could easily have put in some interesting, well-written women that would have fit in. Other Matsumoto shows like Captain Harlock did it, and it worked. I mean, I don't know that this is a boy. I guess technically it's probably a larger male audience. I don't know. I just don't ever see these shows as like boys' shows because you never know what someone's taste is. I guess when this was written, taste was being forced upon a certain subset of the. I don't know. Dimensional depth charges. Interesting. I don't remember those coming up before. I guess the dimensional sub didn't amount to much. This idea will be explored better in 2199. I don't know, man. I don't got that time to wait. That's over 100 years from now. I'm not going to be alive. I'm still not convinced that the MacGuffin of Teresa is really needed in this show or the movie. She's another tall, lanky Matsumoto girl, but she doesn't really serve much of a purpose as, say, Mattel or Esmeraldas from Captain Harlock. I just think they could have found her. Sorry, they could have found out about the Comet Empire without her. I mean, they already. My problem here is you're saying they could have found out about the Comet Empire. They found out about the Comet Empire. They literally fucked around and found out. I mean, not the common way you use that phrase. I mean, literally, they were just fucking about, and then the Comet Empire rolled up on them. So I don't know if they're using her. They're using them the same way as in the movie. That's more about that to get intel on the Comet Empire, more so than just figuring them out or finding them out. I guess my problem with it is that one, I don't like it. It's just a naked girl in a cave. That's pretty off-putting. But the element that the most interesting thing to me about her was that she was antimatter. So it makes sense that she's floating in the middle of a cave because she can't touch anything in the cave, or she'll set off an explosion so great it'll probably destroy the planet. The fact that she would die as well is probably just in there somewhere. But I think I mentioned this before. See, that's not Engines of God. I said that before, and you said that you liked Engines of God, so you know that one. Anvil of God? Forge of God. Forge of God. Forge of God's sequel, which might be Anvil of God, now that I'm thinking about it, features a race that doesn't want to be found, because it's the Dark Forest thing, right? And they're one of the races that tries to kill the people around them rather than being quiet. They did that, and now they don't want to be found by anybody, so they leave all these, things to be found to throw everyone off. And one of them is a artificial base on some planet that doesn't have any life on it. And the moment anyone gets near it, it does some sort of remote flash sort of thing, and suddenly the entire planet and anything around it is made of antimatter. So there's some trap there that planet-wide and the sphere of space around it converts all matter into antimatter. Well, nobody realizes that's what the thing that happens. So you've got these ships that are flying back to their mothership, and one of them tries to land, and poof, suddenly a huge, massive explosion. So, the idea that it doesn't kill you immediately, it lets you get back to where you're going, and then you fuck up everything where you go. So, that's what I think about when I think about the element that she is antimatter. The element of how you could play with that, how you could have an accident, anything. There's a bunch of interesting stuff, but just leaving her floating. I also hope they address the consequences of certain issues more here, but we'll see. Thanks again for your action and bothering to read my and others' comments. Alright, well, I believe that's everything. I've been on 2 giant tangents in the middle of that, plus I already kind of answered some of your stuff in my own notes, like the dimensional depth charges. I don't know why I keep getting fucked up every time I say that. The subs, yeah. Subs really didn't amount to much in that, a couple of fighter craft took them out. Not even their missiles. I think the guns. I already said my piece. They should have done what Dessler was doing when he was projecting ships out. It should have been a ship that projects itself back and forth or something. Or again, the dimension that we visited that one time with Domel that never got brought back. Anyway, that is it for the notes. That is it for the comments. That is it for the boards. Let's go ahead and hop on in and see what we get.
But before we get started,
make sure that you hit the like button,
hit that subscribe button,
comment down below to feed that algorithm.
On top of all that, if you want to watch more shows like this, unfiltered,
uncensored,
and uncut,
as well as some early access stuff,
you can check it out over on the Patreon.
It's just $5 a month, but hey, no pressure.
There's zero pressure in order to do that. It's just a little bit of extra support, and it would be greatly appreciated.
Threw me off there for a second. Not gonna make any sense to you why I just said that. When I do this, I listen to everything through the headset. But if it's the first thing that I go to listen to after changing the sources on my computer, it will burst through the screen for half a second and then hit me on the headset. Some weird delay thing going on. So just got that for a moment. It confused the hell out of me. I imagine it still got recorded there, but, the fact that I mute the music for YouTube anyway. Yeah. It's weird. We've seen that shot before. I think that shot was in last episode before last. And there wasn't that much fire, it was just smoke. I guess implying that, no, actually, that was a shot that was shown before. But that shot has to be from later in the season. because the underside of the Comet Empire ship also looks like the moon. They probably did that so that they could have a bunch of shots of it going underwise on the thing and have it fit. What is the heart of space?
現在我々はここだ。現在までメッセージはだいたいこの方向から入ってきている。先日は直接交信に失敗したものの、アタックしたおかげで前よりはかなり詳しく航路を決められるようになった。参考までに言っておくが、現在白色彗星はこの辺におり、確実に銀河へ近づきつつある。
As you guys can see it, considering it's half, more than, like, not even more than half, like a couple of galaxies away. By which I mean the Milky Way galaxy's width away.
こちら宇宙戦艦ヤマト航海長、どうぞ。返事をしてください。返事を。
I would be concerned by the fact that it seems to be the same message every time. Clearly the subtitlers didn't get that. It was literally left out of our message.
太田、今の資料を参考にしてワープの航路を決めろ。はい。面舵いっぱい。
Again, the element is if it's the same message every time, which felt like it is, then why would it be a message on repeat? Because I'd also hope somebody out there just saying the same thing every time. I guess I was also thrown because I was expecting this, the recap that we usually get.
謎のメッセージを受けた宇宙戦艦ヤマトは地球防衛軍の阻止を振り切り発進した。ヤマトは第11番惑星基地を攻撃する。
So we were talking about Yamato there, and they showed us a scene of that one general landing on Tesseract. Sorry, I kept wanting to say shit, but my brain kept saying shit. Next up is the general. Zavabal. Yeah, they were showing his stuff landing while talking about the Yamato. See? Interior and posterior. It makes no sense. I mean, in fairness, he is the one that knows the most about the Yamato. Although, I guess at the same time, he's also the one who's lost the most to Yamato. By which I mean number of combats and also the amount of stuff that he has lost. Well, we've improved the chamber. Before it was a just glowing ball. Well, I guess we've vastly improved. I think, again, she was just floating naked in a room before. Although I will say, that doesn't look like Teresa that I remember. Is that, what's her name on, Mouth just kept moving after he was done talking. uncomfortable way just to stand holding your arms.
ですらそうと、それならばなおさらのこと、テレサと接触させてはならない。万一ヤマト撃破に失敗したときは、水星帝国に多大な不利益をもたらします。ゴーランド提督。
I'm saying if that wasn't Teresa, it kind of looked like Starsha. I guess she glows a lot more.
Yamato はどこに?
Also, why is she naked in the fucking ending? If she's wearing clothes now, just always have her wearing clothes. There's no reason for it.
了解。相原、防衛軍本部へ報告しておけ。はい。あ、また入電している。
So I apologize. I don't know why my nose gets the itchiest when I'm recording.
こちらヤマト。こちらヤマト。
ヤマト、早く。
おい、早くしろ。様子が変だぞ。
So I should point out, it's gonna be super annoying to be the communications officer, but they only let you do your job when there's no communications.
お、いたな、べっぴんさん。
斉藤さん、うろうろしていちゃダメでしょ。ワープのアナウンス聞いたはずよ。
話には聞いてるが、この斉藤をはじめワープの一つや二つ恐るいたるさ。波動エンジン異様なし。ワープ自動装置セットオン。ワープ1分前。
He just didn't follow her. Warper doesn't bother me one bit. Don't mind, I'm just gonna vanish.
騒ぐな。落ち着いたらどうだ。だけど隊長、時間を飛び越えるってのは塹壕を飛び越えるとはわけが違うぜ。
Skipping time. Man, you've already decided to be a man. Might as well just... I think you'll spread out on the floor is the way I'd probably go about this. Although you probably want to go face down, because if you vomit from that position, you'll die choking on your own vomit. Now, this feels like something out of Douglas Adams. The warp is actually the infinite improbability drive.
Warp 完了。
Unfortunately, I guess they forgot that they used to use some scout ships to send a message back that it was a safe jump.
宇宙気流じゃないか。端子の島。ここまで来て引き返せるかい。このままメッセージの発信源まで突っ走る。機関長、エネルギー増幅。エネルギー増幅。出力全開。
I don't know why the cat would be, though. Technically, this is the first time the cat's worked. Because it wasn't with us the first time. The first time, I mean the season 1. Is that the point of showing us Teresa before not talking? I mean, I guess that's one way you could build camaraderie. seeing what the Yamato crew has to go through every time they do anything.
付属不可能です。通信回復しません。どうしたんでしょうか。まさか自然障害で。やっぱりヤマトでは無理だったんだ。いや、私は信じる。ヤマトは
Legitimately saved the entire Earth. Can't make one warp without thinking they're dead.
ヤマトめ、そのまま墓場へ突っ込め。全艦目標空間へ達しました。宇宙気流の外を固めろ。墓場へはまり込んだところを次元の裂け目からミサイルをぶち込んでやる。提督、あそこへはまり込んでしまえばその必要もないと思いますが。念には念を
Admiral,
入れろ。
you're being a little extra.
Shima, 乗り切ったようだな。
前方異常空間あり。ビデオパネルチェンジ。
It feels like they're implying that they're in the alternate dimension now. Because if that's so, this would have been the time to use the dimensional subs.
サルガッソーだ。サルガッソー。宇宙の墓場だ。あんなとこへはまったら二度と抜け出せないぞ。なん
I
だ。
mean, technically, you can have Sargassos and ocean as well.
古代、罠だったんだ。罠。シマ、こうしたんだ。要素。引っ張られる。そう。
Go figure, piloting with the flow would take you somewhere you couldn't get out of.
俺を騙しやがって。相手のせいにしないでください。通信のことは僕に任せればよかったんですよ。横からゴタゴタ言うな。いいからよそ見をするな。
It's a hell of an argument. You should have let me do communications. I'd be so bad at it, you would never figure out where they're at.
エンジン全開。
Weird to get that commercial break in and out.
それは移動するブラックホールの一種で、その超重力のために近づくものをすべて吸い寄せ、中に引き込まれた物質はその重力で押しつぶされてしまう恐怖の空間であ
So
る。
otherwise, like a normal black hole. Except for the part where, well, I guess technically, the closer you got, the more time would get dilated. So you could just appear to like be stuck in a place where you would eternally be actually slow motion falling into a black hole.
墓場へはまり込んだんだ。一体どうなんだ俺たちは。ちぎれってな、俺じゃどうしようもねえ。古代はどうしてるんだ。
静まり、静かにせんかい。
おお先生。
だいたいお前たちはうるさすぎるぞ。こういう時は落ち着くもんじゃい。
そんなこと言ったって先生。
Gonna pull out a bottle and drink with everyone.
わしについてこい。
なんだこの部屋は。
ここはな、長い宇宙の旅で精神的に疲れたものを回復させてやる部屋じゃ。
しかしまだ俺たちは。
そうだ、まだ旅に出たばっかりなのに、こうも
We get
早く
holodecked?
使用することになるとは思わなかったよ。要するにお前たちのような精神不安定なものを落ち着かせる部屋なんじゃ。
Man, we've seen this before. Yeah, the same dancing girls again too. I think we just keep these guys in here the whole trip. Save us some trouble.
おとなしくなったようだな。出られまいヤマト。あとは時間の問題です。時間の問題。そうだ。時間の問題だ。師匠、どこも更新不可能だ。ユキ、脱出口を探せ。無理だろうな。
Say that guy's really getting fucked with this entire arc so far.
ひどい見て館内服が
Of course.
あ、真田さんもわしもだ。時間が異常に早く進んでいる。早く脱出しないと衣類ばかりでなく肉体は老化し、やがては白骨化するぞ。
I say, what are we implying here? I guess their clothes specifically must have been shit, because they're the only ones that are breaking down. I can't help but think we just saw 3 years of tomato growth. What the fuck would you think the Yamato crew were up to that they need? Again, we just saw 3 harvests of tomato crop.
放っておけ。それより脱出することの方が先決だ。ユキ、まだか。
まだです。
古代、砲撃のおかげで光が見えたぞ。どこかに次元断層。
There you go. Shouldn't have been extra.
それを探るレーダーが。
異次元レーダーが
What are the clothes made of? To this point, I'd be worried that all the wiring of the ship is going to also fall apart.
12時の方向？そいつが本物のメッセージだ。もしもし。こちらヤマト。
Oh yeah, dude, my only job is communications.
1時の方向次元の裂け目
何も見えない。
3次元世界のあなた方には私を信じて早く。
よし、行ってみよう。発進準備はできとるぞ。
Legitimately?
急げ。
I guess time is a factor here, so you could think of the 4th dimension as time. But at that point, what are you asking us to do? Shoot something in the past?
補助エンジン動力接続スイッチオン。落ち着け島。名誉回復だ。任せといてください。波動エンジン内圧力上昇。エネルギー充填 100%。
If I remember to. I'm gonna count how long they've been in here. Just to compare that against if it is a 1-year crop rotation on the tomatoes, how much they should have aged by. How shit is their clothes that their clothes aged off of them? You would just think that would be like high quality outfits, but maybe they were lowest bidder kind of shit.
Yamato が悪あがきしよう。出とこ一時の方向へ航路を取っています。まさかテレさんが。よし、待ち伏せろ。
We know how powerful that transmission was. It fucked up everything in its path. How would they not know she's transmitting something with that amount of energy behind it? Weird. The source of the flow was nothing.
島、このまま全速で突っ切れ。 発射用意。主砲発射準備完了。発射。
So I think that's the fastest we've ever seen any of their ships dodge. And why are we pulling out the somber Yamato soundtrack? So I recognize we're taking a pounding here. This isn't sad.
いや待て、これはほんの小手調べだ。慌てることはない。おい、やったぞ、古代。
ヤマトの皆さん、よくサルガスを脱出されましたね。心から祝福を送ります。
相原、彼、こちらヤマト。宇宙戦艦ヤマト。
One job, man. I got one job.
大輔、聞こえますか？
私はテレサ、テレザートのテレサ。
テレザートのテレサ。テレサ、教えてください。あのメッセージの意味をもっと正確に、はっきりと。
今、宇宙の危機
I feel like he's gonna be the next member of the crew to fall in love with an alien.
国の猶予もありません。あの白色彗星は圧倒的な力で銀河へ向かまた妨害電波が。
Well, they've already talked about a forward operating base that they were trying to build. Plus, we know that our actual plan is summer home on Earth or something.
どうしたんだ？テレザート星の方向は？距離は？
テレザート星はどこから？
もしもし、テレサ！強力な妨害電波が送られています。島、航路の修正をしろ。了解。
I just feel like he's personally invested because he's fallen in love with the voice or something. Otherwise, why would he keep pushing out the communications officer, who should be trained at this?
再びテレザート星を目指した。しかしその間にも白色彗星は圧倒的な脅威となって地球とヤマトの前に立ちはだかってくるのである。
Technically, they already
運
have.
命は全てヤマトに
Venus and the Earth. They hit them both already. I would say it does beg the question, how did one of their fighter craft get to Earth? When we still apparently had, what, 3 or 4 fleets out there on defense? I just realized they're talking about sending the 11th fleet as well as a few of the others to investigate, and the 11th fleet was the one Kodai was in charge of before, right? At the start of the this season, I believe Kodai was in charge of the 11th fleet, which means that he left it behind with the Yamato. So, if it turns out to be like the movie, where they go and find the wreckage of the Andromeda and a bunch of ships, right? That was unexplained in the movie, I felt like. It's actually going to be Kodai's former crewmates, now dead. Yeah, I mean, I don't really have that many thoughts about this episode. It was standard Yamato flare. Sorry, I would say flare. I guess that works too. Fair is what I meant to say. Standard Yamato fare. We had a, what was it, galactic flow thing last time. We went through that. Yeah, it's a singular episode. It is something you can just watch by itself. They made fools of the cavalrymen again. You know, our clothes are falling apart. Oh, yeah, the ship is doing it for us. And we reused a bunch of those shots. Because, again, I said this the first time we've seen this place, and of course it isn't. Because literally Analyzer was dancing with the holographic ladies before. I think the Doctor was here last time, too, wasn't he? Well, I mean, obviously he was here this time, so. But yeah, they reused some of those shots. Then added some more with Saito and his men, obviously. Other than that, they're still doing the Saito's pursuing Yuki thing, which is weird. I mean, it's not weird. I just don't appreciate it because I've still got the emotionality of what they were like in the movie, specifically at the end, I guess. But, you know, they've done their time. Like, Yuki got past Analyzer. Now Analyzer's back doing Analyzer shit. I guess the element is that Kodai is still on the adventuring life, and that makes this free game? I don't know. I don't like it. There really wasn't anything else, was there? Because it was just this flow thing. The other guy, underestimating the Yamato. His assistant actually giving good advice for once. They're being a little extra. And it turns out that little extra is what the Yamato needed to get out. However, I guess technically, they still would have gotten the message from Teresa, and the message would have guided them on the way. I don't particularly see how the missile strikes actually helped Yamato get out, other than guide the way from where they were coming in. You think three-dimensionally. Not a great line. I mean, it was better when the Borg Queen said it, but then again, this came out way before that. But we just established by then that the Borg Queen actually just sees across dimensions and whatnot. Whereas here, you think three-dimensionally, yeah, it's the only way we can think. You know, a hypercube, if you've ever seen a picture of a hypercube, isn't even what a hypercube would look like. It's what the shadow of a hypercube might look like here in the third dimension. You cannot, in any possible way, actually visualize what the fourth dimension would look like. That's how crazy dimensions are, right? If we got like what? Point is 1 dimension, a line is 2 dimensions, 3 dimensions is obviously length, width, and height. What is the fourth dimension, right? It would be so alien that you just could not conceive of it. So, I don't know, maybe that's why I'm giving Teresa a otherworldly glow here. Maybe she is so much more advanced of a life form. I don't know. Well, they're doing more. I'm glad she's dressed in the show. I'm glad for that. Now I'm just even more confused why she's naked in the credits. Because it would seem like she was being held hostage and just given nothing, and that's why she was naked in the movie. Which, again, I didn't like either. But they're using the shot of her in the movie in the end credits of the show, and if that really is the same person, she's completely different here in the show. So, well, anyway, I already feel like I'm rambling. As I said, I didn't have much. Most of what was going on was on a singular theme. I feel like it was just very, very well laid out A plot. Very well laid out. I think you know what I mean. It was all A plot, and maybe there was a little subversion of a B plot going on, but that was just instantly gone. So yeah, I guess the only thing to look forward to here is the element that if we're around Teresa, I keep wanting to call it Tesseract. You know what I'm talking about. The planet Teresa's on. If we're anywhere near that, then we're not only close to the Common Empire guys, we're close to Dessler as well. So, always looking forward to that confrontation because I want to see if it goes the same way as the movies. Does he like throw himself out in airlock, or is he going to be around for season 3? Because there's more to come. Well, anyway, I believe that is it for this time. So once again, I have been Theta. This has been Stoneface Reactions, and we will catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?